Welcome everyone to our strategy and value live demo today. This is our tier 2 level offering. I am Laura Hall. I am the Vice President of Marketing and Customer Experience here at Refugee, and I'm very pleased to introduce you to Joe Monastiero, our VP of Global Sales. He will be leading you through the demo today, but we'll start out with just a couple of slides up front so we can level set, explain the why. Our tiered approach is fairly new, about 6 months old here, so want to introduce the concept behind that, talk a little bit about who tier 2 is a good fit for, and then Joe will dive into the demo. We'll do some Q&A, but if you have questions, please put them in the chat, and I'll happily interrupt Joe during the demo to make sure your questions get asked. So I will hand it over to you, Joe.
Perfect. Thank you all for joining us today. So as Laura said, Joe Monastiero, VP of Sales here at Refugee. So really what we're going to focus on here is why we're looking at the tiered approach in our second tier, as she said. And really what this looks at is putting the customer first, not just in the terms of you putting the customer first, utilizing Refugee, but also Refugee putting the customer first and offering to our prospects and existing customers a way to step into the discipline and rigor that are required for true strategic account planning and opportunity execution. So as you can see here, we're reviewing this today. This is our sales execution maturity model. And we start with ad hoc, which is really, unpredictable, lumpy, no process, and move all the way up through the stages to strategic, which is where you have all of your cross-functional teams or revenue teams working together, referencing, wow, there we go, the sales execution platform and plans, and making sure that there's full alignment across marketing, sales, customer success, and all of the teams that support that revenue model going forward. So today, what we're going to focus on is our tier 2. So this is where you've really moved past the ad hoc stage that you haven't had a defined process. You've now defined it. And you're moving beyond tactical, which is a defined process that's being used sometimes in pockets of the company, or maybe just for certain reasons throughout the year, whether it's to drive a QBR, an annual account review, or an executive summary of your existing strategic accounts. Now we're stepping into the integrated and, on the top end, intelligently managed phases. This is where you have a moderate to high level of maturity across people, process, and technology. And you're now moving into a defined process, adherence to that defined process, and outcomes that are driven by that process and technology on the back end. So really here, we've developed the discipline, we understand the rigor, and now we're utilizing the technology to bring collaboration to the forefront of this and push us into a state where anyone and everyone can see what's happening. So also, we do have the first demo that we've dropped into the chat right now. We did that on our tier 1, which was engage and develop, looking at how to move from having an ad hoc or tactical process into something that is more usable, and you're driving the rigor and discipline behind just making sure that you're moving into that stage. All right, so this is really looking at how you progress to integrated or intelligently managed. So really from the people angle, your sales leaders are using the data provided to target coaching opportunities. This is preemptively mitigating risk around strategic accounts, whether or not they'll churn in certain cases, as well as opportunities. So utilizing scorecards, your engagement plans, strategy maps, et cetera, to really drive that forward. And it's also enabling ops to understand what's happening behind the scenes. So looking at time and deal stages, looking at adherence to that process, articulation of value, all of those different elements, so we can truly understand what is working and what inefficiencies need to be evolved out of that process. And jumping into the process element here. So now there's more informed handoffs between the pieces of the revenue team. So marketing can give data to sales, which is then going to pass it off to customer success once that deal is closed. And everyone is along the same expectations with the customer. One of the biggest challenges we've seen through the revenue team is sales sets expectations, maybe properly or improperly in some cases, as they will, and customer success is already behind the 8 ball as soon as implementation is finished, or even before that, getting requests for enhancements, customers having issues that they haven't been delivered the functionality or feature set that they were promised to, and they're not going to see the value that they assumed. Those types of things. And then finally, you get the ability for on that process, sales leaders and operations leaders, as well as enablement, can get together to define, again, those inefficiencies or understand the efficiencies and bring a better process to bear over time. And the last piece of this is what we're talking about today, right? The technology. How do we utilize the technology to develop discipline and digitize these account plans in such a way that is allowing for actionable intelligence or a path forward, as opposed to the traditional sales intelligence or sales platforms that you'll see that lack that forward-looking intelligence. They're simply either historical information about accounts, opportunities, and contexts, or just give you a little bit of a path forward. So for instance, you're looking at white space and you're looking at what licenses have people used and when are they ready for more, as opposed to what you could potentially sell them in the future. So this is really going to help drive consistency across the entire sales organization and make sure that there's true visibility into a forecast and that they're providing, the VPs and coaches are providing help when it's needed.
All right, I promised there would only be a couple of slides here. So we are already through the intro and the why behind it. If you want to learn more, you can also check out our pricing and packaging page on our website. It's just refugee.com/pricing. And Joe, I will let you take over the screen share so you can jump into the live demo.
Perfect, and I will do that once it lets me. There we go. So we're going to take a look at Refugee Enterprise. Now, as you all may or may not know, Refugee is able to be iframed into the big three CRMs, as we call them: Salesforce, Dynamics, and SAP's Cloud for Customer. Today, I'm going to show you the standalone version just for ease of navigation around the platform, but understand all of this functionality here that you're seeing can absolutely be utilized inside of your CRM. If you're one of those three, we have a single direction integration for the non-standard CRMs. So your HubSpot, Zohos, Pipedriver, etc. All of those. We do still have those integrations. But what we're looking at right now is going to be your dashboard. This is what you saw last time. This is just a traditional dashboard. I have up here my alerts that are giving me what I'm supposed to do today or what's upcoming, my revenue summary analysis that's taking a look at how I'm tracking toward my goals for the current and future fiscal term, my revenue growth ideas, which will be a new element we'll look at today, and my opportunity bubble chart, which is showing me the value of an opportunity against the time that it's closing, and then the risk from the color perspective here. So the thing that I'm going to hop into first here that's different from last time, or in addition, is going to be the playbooks. So this is really going to be your guided selling or guided planning process. This, what we're looking at right here, is fully configurable to match what you're utilizing today, and you can evolve this over time. One of the biggest things you'll notice here is the number of thumbnails or little icons that you're seeing. This is allowing you to attach or layer in critical information about the account, about your competitors, about marketing, whatever it may be, right into the playbook, so it's fully accessible from anyone on the account team. Now, even myself or another sales director may be doing research, and they might want to attach the financial report, the letter to the shareholders, or different documentation that they've created over time. That can all be layered in. Then what you'll see here is these wrenches that are sitting across the playbook. These are all attachments to the Refugee tools. So I'll open the relationship first because this is what we've looked at. You can very quickly open screen and screen any one of the Refugee functionalities or features to execute that task right in the same place and then jump back and not lose your place. So I know we talked a great deal about this last time. Just a quick refresher here. Integration with the CRM, obviously, as you can see, we're pulling all of the contacts directly in. You also have the automation element here, where if you're utilizing a title, whether it's templatized or you're adding a placeholder card here, it's going to reach out to the CRM to check if that's there and give you that validation exercise. And then as we dig down behind the contact cards here, you're going to see a number of elements. So card attributes allowing you to outline their role, org level, preference, relationship, who owns this relationship, as well as influence. Other elements can be added here to drive comments and an understanding from a personal or professional level, how or what you should speak to this person about. Insights is going to show you everywhere that they exist in maps across the Refugee platform, whether it's an account map, it's an opportunity map, it's a relationship, or a value map, all of those pieces there. Activities, again, are going to show where this person sits in different activities executed across the account or various opportunities. And then finally, you have the general tab, which is just showing what's synced back to CRM. So if you edit any of this data in Refugee, it will push back to CRM and vice versa, which is very helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and move on from the relationship map here, as this was one of the big elements we looked at last time. And again, that is in the chat if you would like to take a look at that demo. I'm going to jump into our strategy map. Strategy maps to me are actually the most critical portion of the Refugee platform. And I say that because this is the visual organization of all of your discovery conversations, all of your research that you've been doing with the customer. These strategies, goals, initiatives, and projects are all focused on what the customer is doing. And what this does is, in that visualization, allows you to overlay where you potentially have solutions or create what we call revenue growth ideas, which I'll talk about in a moment. So if I drill down behind this goal, what I'm going to see is the ability to add a summary, the ability to add specific detail to that. And we can also add other elements in here if you would like further notes or descriptors, and attach a who cares. And this is the direct connection. So pulling that line through right back to the relationship map. On this left-hand side, you see a list of names and you see bold text and plain text. That bold is indicating that they are already on the relationship map. If I were to add another person who is in plain text to a who cares on any of these cards, it's going to immediately be populated to the top left-hand corner of the relationship map to indicate that I have a blind spot because they are not situated in the org structure or the influence structure and have no detail behind that card. Basically saying, okay, if you're telling me this person cares about a specific goal or initiative that's happening on the account, you should care about filling out the detail and know exactly who they are. So keeping everyone honest in terms of what they're moving forward with and making sure your relationships are properly being developed. I'm going to go ahead and jump out of that. So as you can see, goals, strategies are how they're driving those goals. Initiatives are going to be how they're driving those strategies forward to reach those goals. And then finally, the bottom of this is going to be your projects. So if I dig back into this project, you're going to see there's a little bit more detail here. You're going to have the initiative type or the project type here. If it's ongoing, completed, unknown, you're going to have specifically who owns this, if it's in-house, a competitor, or specifically us in terms of the ones using the platform. And then you can physically attach an owner to this in terms of your stakeholders, again, carrying that detail back to the relationship map and the contact cards. Two of the other things you'll see in here is the ability to attach a related opportunity. So say, for instance, you have an opportunity, you can link it directly to this project to show that you have that ongoing or that it's been closed won. And another way to do something here is if, say, for instance, you've uncovered that, we'll just use this, they're expanding their solutions to EMEA. And you know that your solutions can actually help them do that, but you haven't validated or qualified that that's a real thing. So what you're going to then do is attach a revenue growth idea here. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this and show you that very easily we can pull up screen the revenue growth ideas. And actually any tool within Refugee for that matter. We can customize this to show any number of tools that you have that you'd like to see screen. Now this goes for if you're sitting on the relationship map, the playbook, white space, or the strategy map as is this case. So if we pull this across, what you're immediately going to see across the top is obviously the name revenue growth idea, but then the conversion metrics here. So we see that there is a total of 28 created revenue growth ideas that are associated with $6.55 million in revenue. Then we can also see that we've converted to opportunities, 3 of them that are 330K in value. Now, as we drill down into here, we can take a look at a revenue growth idea. This one's for a fraud management solution that we put in play. We can add in an opportunity size, the estimated close date, and then associate tasks behind the scene. So as you can see, it's not just giving you a, hey, I have a great idea. It's giving you detail behind the scenes, where it came from. So where it was sourced within the Refugee platform, who it's specifically assigned to, details about when it was created, why it was created, the last time it was updated. And if we go ahead and edit mode down here, I can begin to move the status as well as my confidence level and add a number of notes to showcase that as I'm moving through executing on the specific tasks, and there's none that are really here, but if we add this in, I can add tasks to drive that qualification. We can change our confidence level or change our ideas about this revenue growth idea. Now, once we've done that and say we're good to go, that, hey, this revenue growth idea made sense, we validated it out with our critical stakeholders, we found out who cares about this, why they care about it, and have a timeline in place. So whether you're using BANT, Banter, MedPick, Medic, whatever it may be, utilizing that methodology, qualifying this properly, we can then very quickly convert this to an opportunity. Now, not only will this create an opportunity within Refugee, this also pushes a new opportunity to your CRM, giving you all the data and details you need to carry that forward. So the biggest thing that this is helpful with If you think about Salesforce, for instance, the lead metric is a terrible one in my mind. I hate treating a single individual as a lead for a company, because as we know today, it could be upwards of 12 to 15 individuals that make up a buying group that truly need to be looked at as a lead as a whole. So this allows you to offset that odd object that they have in Salesforce and truly treat a lead as a group of people and a strategy moving forward. That's one of my biggest things. So you're not stepping into a 0-stage opportunity in your forecast as such. You've now done the qualification, the preemptive qualification that is, and you're able to look at this as a stage 1 or stage 2 opportunity immediately. And that's kind of one of the critical elements here. You're increasing the velocity of these opportunities because you've understood that, yes, it exists. I've qualified it based on what my RGI metrics are. It is something they're looking to buy soon. Okay, now we're off to the races. You bring in the right resources and can carry that forward. All right. So now I'm going to switch gears just a little bit here and jump into the opportunity side of Refugee to showcase a little bit more. And what you're going to notice is a lot of this functionality is the same. And in our tiered model, you actually get both the opportunity and the account side of the house and similar tools on both ends. So on the engage and develop side, you have the account, the relationship map, and the GOA, or goals, objectives, and actions plan, to drive your execution and develop those relationships. On the opportunity side, you have what we call an influence map, focused on specifically figuring out who is voting for or against you for that opportunity. And you have your joint evaluation plan, which is layering in the exact steps that need to happen to close that opportunity and who is responsible for those on the customer side. So as you can see here, another dashboard, we're going to go ahead and jump into the business value map or business issues map. So as you can see here, we're now focused on one specific outcome that was an initiative or a strategy on the account side. Within this, you can then look at the impacts that are driving this to become a problem and not allowing the company to reach those specific outcomes. Then you take a look at the issues that are creating those negative impacts, and you have the opportunity to overlay your solution cards to show how you would mitigate those challenges and allow that direct drive into the specific outcome. The great part is with this, you're creating a visual story of your business case. So I can come up here and I can actually hide these solution cards and hide other information inside of this and start to look at this from a very blank slate perspective. Okay, based on the research we've done, you've told me XYZ is true. On my, on our conversations, I've understood that these are the people that care about it. And based on our solution set, here's the way that we're going to solve your challenges and allow you to drive to that outcome. So it becomes a very visual story, as opposed to just being a whole bunch of words on a slide or a conversation. This kind of changes the game here. And it allows you to talk through whether or not you've properly identified all of the challenges and impacts that are creating the issue of driving to this outcome. So it's a very interesting piece there. Now I'm going to jump back into the playbook, because business value out, that's a great thing, but you need to start someplace. And that's usually your sales process. So if we look at this, what we've put together here is essentially a guided selling playbook. This is matching the buying stages, which too many salespeople forget about, with the primary selling stages that you have in Salesforce, layering in specific activities that need to happen in each of these stages to make sure that you're continuing forward and progressing the deal the way it should be. And then finally, you have verifiable outcomes here. This is taking external activities and saying, okay, great, you've decided that you are in the discovery phase. Have you done everything with the customer, and has the customer said to you or indicated that they are also in that phase, so that we don't end up in the negotiate and close on our end and still find out that they're exploring possible solutions on there. Very difficult to be in those situations. I'm sure everyone has at one point. I know I have. And at the 11th hour, that's never a fun thing when you're, oh, I have a huge deal for the quarter. I'm gonna win this. And all of a sudden you find out not only did it push 2 quarters, they're still not even sure if they've shortlisted you for the solution. Never a good thing. So when you look back here, the one thing that you'll see mainly different than on the account side of things is this little purple indicator right here, this pin. This is actually tracking the stage that's in Salesforce. One of 2 things is possible here. This can be completely independent from any of the activities you're doing, or it can be driven by the verifiable outcomes. So you can drive this forward. And I didn't mean to click that one. I meant to click this one. You can drive this pin forward based on these verifiable outcomes or any of the activities in here. So if you choose to say 4 out of 5 of these are necessary to drive the pin from solution proposal to negotiate and close, by clicking those, you would be able to progress that forward, and it would be reflected on the Salesforce side as well. So one other thing I want to bring up here is the use of scorecards. Now, as you can see, we have a number of different scorecards that we can build here, fully configurable. Right now, I'm showing BANT, MEDPIC, and opportunity status. I'm going to focus on the opportunity status here, or opportunity fitment, if you will, on this. Scorecards are another element that is included with our tier 2. This allows you to really make sure that either through multiple periods in time or a single point in time during your opportunity flow, that you have all of the details in here. And it's also going to give you a risk indication overall. So as you can see, this is getting a 79 score. Anything over 75 is green, below 75 is going to be amber, and then below 50 is going to be red. But it allows you to layer in things like solution fit, understanding of competition, levels of relationships, the specific need and budget. It really fits your qualification methodology, if you will, to make sure that you're progressing forward. Now, even on the account side, you can utilize scorecards to understand the potential value of an account moving forward. So is it an account that you're going to focus on with a lot of your resources and it has a huge potential to grow in the near future? Or is it more of a managed account that you're not going to layer in new resources because they're good for a specific amount of revenue every year, but they're not going to grow? Or in the worst case, is this a customer that we need to fire? Do we need to tell them, hey, we appreciate your business, everything's going well, but you're actually costing us more time and resources than you're bringing in to the business every year. So let's take a look at what makes sense. So it really allows you to understand both the opportunities and the accounts from a more objective perspective. Now, that's actually about it here. The final element that's included is going to be the plans. And really what that is a roll-up of all of the things that we've done here already. So if I jump into the account plan view, I'm going to be able to see all of the elements of my account plan here. And again, fully configurable. I'm also going to be able to step through each of the pieces. So we have our internal goals and action, or execution plan here, risks, barriers, and limitations, our account activities that we're doing, the account team, account coaching information. We jump into the account intelligence tab and take a look through our scorecard. As I had said, we look at our financial information here. And then we're digging down into our relationship and strategy maps. And you can even layer in health index scores or any other information that sits in your CRM and is a standard or custom object. It's one of the main reasons why we've stayed away from being native. It allows us to only rely on the information that you want transferred into your strategic account plans or your opportunity execution plans. It's very important. And then as we scroll across here, gives us the view of the revenue snapshot. And rolling all the way up, this is going to give you that revenue summary analysis that we saw on the dashboard, but more specific detail here on the left. You're going to take a look at your revenue growth ideas in full list format. Again, your opportunity bubble chart, you have your current opportunities, closed won opportunities. This can be very extensive depending on how deep you want to get in understanding this. And as we roll down, you can even see account revenue by line of business or by product mix over year over year. And then finally, we have the plan admin stage on our plan right here. This is just going to be the critical details that are coming in from CRM, and then also who is in the account team. Now, this is not everything that could exist in this plan. If you had a competitive analysis that you needed, that could be layered in. If you had a research page where you wanted to put in specific details about the account that sit outside of the CRM, or just kind of a strategy element where you have a collaborative space for your salespeople, SDRs, and your pre-sales folks to work together. That could all exist here as well. So jumping back to the playbook, that's going to be the majority of what is in our tier 2 here. And really the next step would be our enterprise solution, which I'm happy to help anyone take a look at that offline, or bring the sales team in to do that as well. You can just ping us or Laura. You can do it on the website, via LinkedIn, whatever it may be. And we can go ahead and take that forward. So with that being said, are there any specific questions that anyone has about what they've seen so far, or things that they were hoping to see that they hadn't yet?
Well, people are thinking of questions, I'll just jump in real quick. Of something really cool that I've seen a couple of our customers do is actually create a playbook for Refugee Training so that it lives in their system. We all know training can't be a one and done exercise, unfortunately. This way, with the different wrenches you can pull here, you have different levels of detail on the pieces of the platform. If they have forgotten something, need to go back, have questions, it's a great way to have self-service without having your salespeople leave the platform. So I thought that was pretty cool. Question here about the sync with the CRM data. What CRMs do we sync with, or do we fully integrate with?
So full bi-directional integration is going to be with Salesforce.com, Microsoft Dynamics, and SAP's C4C. We do have a single direction integration with all of the other platforms. You're just not going to be able to push data from Refugee back to that CRM.
Cool. Any other questions here? Open up the window. Question about where white space lives.
Yes, so white space is on the enterprise side of the Refugee platform. And while we're here, I might as well pull that up. So that lives in a separate map here by itself. And it's going to be a focus on your products on the left-hand side and your buying centers across the top. Now, this is just one visualization. We have a number of them. It's kind of considered our heat map here. And what you'll see inside of this is your closed won in green, your pending opportunities in blue, your closed lost in red, and then your white space, which is in gray, but can be white if you wanted to make it that. You can really change the colors on this as necessary. And then what you're looking at across the top here is your current year bookings based on closed won, and then your available potential based on the information that's been layered in behind these cards. So as you can see, we scroll down, renewal date status, total potential, available potential there. And obviously there's more detail behind this, but this is a enterprise level piece of the platform. And the reason behind that, as you can tell, this has a lot of configuration that is necessary to match both your specific product set, the way that you use buying centers, and if that buying center is actually indicated as a subsidiary of an organization, a location of an organization, or some other parent-child, owner subsidiary type of relationship. In this case, as we're looking at it, this is the subsidiary of JA Corp. But a lot of times what we're seeing is if you have a multi-solution offering or portfolio, product portfolio, what ends up happening there is you end up looking at the IT group, the sales group, the HR group, operations group, et cetera. So you have multiple different budgets that you're focused on for your solutions and various products there. So it's one of the ways we like to look at it as well.
We had a question about accessing the earlier demos. I just dropped that into the chat again in case you missed it earlier. So you can access those there. And then you can also go to that refugee.com/pricing to see exactly what's included in each tier, just bulleted out there, and understand what all is included in the enterprise as well. All right. Another question here about the tiers and fit of the tiers. Tier 2, if you've had trouble with technology adoption in the past, is tier 2 too much to jump into, even in an organization with more tenured sales reps?
So no, I don't think so. I really think the biggest thing that you need to focus on as you're deciding which tier to jump into, if it's tier 1, tier 2, or enterprise, is looking at what the adoption of platforms has been in the past, but what the level of change management has really been, and if there was an effort from both the vendor and internal to drive that change management. When Refugee comes in, not only do we do an assessment upfront with you to understand what your maturity level sits at, and thereby what the best tier would be. On the back end of this, once you do purchase, we also look at two things. One, we have a unique SOW for implementation that is specific to your organization, incorporates training both for the administrators and the end users, as well as user testing midstream. So when we do that, we're specifically focusing on what tools does it make sense to roll out when for your organization, so we don't overwhelm people. And also in something we call hypercare, which is post-implementation, customer success and our services team work together to put together two different plans. One is an adoption plan to make sure you're getting the level of adoption expected to turn out the value that you need from the Refugee platform. And the second is going to be a success plan to make sure not only you're getting the adoption, but you're seeing success across all the areas of your business that you were looking to impact with Refugee in the first place. So, short answer, no, I don't think it would be too much for you to jump into. Longer answer, we would help you determine whether or not that's the case as we have our conversations.
Just to add some color to that, and some of the inspiration for breaking down into the tiered approach was actually from one of our repeat customers. He had used Refugee before at an organization, I think maybe 2 organizations in the past, come into a new organization and realize that the way that the sales team was utilizing, or not utilizing as the case may be, technology, he knew he needed the Refugee platform, but he also knew that they were immature in their technology usage. So what he needed to do was start out with just that tier 1. He knew, having used Refugee in the past, what to ask for even before tier 1 existed, so that he could baby step them into the program. And I think, Joe, I know you keep in touch with them regularly. I think their adoption rate is something like 80 or 90% at this point.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit over 90% right now. I think they're at 92%, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, which, as we all know, is pretty incredible for any sales technology, CRM included.
Yeah, when you look at CRM and they're saying good adoption is 25%, that makes me wonder what they're building this for. If 75% of the people who should use it aren't, which is exciting. We actually pride ourselves as being one of the most adopted, if not the most adopted, sales technology out there, or sales platform out there, at 80+% at the majority of our customers. So that's our running average is about 81%. And now, mind you, that's across well over 50 to 60,000 users.
Question here about leaders using the platform and how they interact with it outside. So that over a key account management group, how is a leader utilizing the data in the Refugee platform to accomplish goals?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of things we're working on to make that easier to understand and visualize with our manager dashboards that are on track to come out later this year. But right now, you're able to look through, and so using analytics, in which is available in tier 2, you're able to look through, one, what the actual usage is of your group. So who's going in and updating their accounts, updating their opportunities, and continually progressing down the path that you expect them to. 2, you're able to look at opportunity information, surface the health of those opportunities, and then push to the top the heaviest laden with risk, so that you can make sure that you're coaching and mentoring to those as it's needed and not just being reactionary. And then the third piece is from a strategic account or account perspective, you can again see all of the health related to each of those accounts, where you need to coach, mentor, and what the potential is for that future wallet share growth within each of those accounts. So it allows you to really look from the top layer down, pinpoint where there's risk, where there isn't, and then focus your time where there is risk. So instead of going through and having to do a significant amount of research, as you would with the CRM, Refugee is giving you that visibility directly. So it's going to tell you exactly where there's risk and drive you toward that. Yeah. I honestly also like it. We run our QBRs directly in Refugee, so it stops being a finger pointing exercise and is far more a collaborative exercise of how we're going to, create a path forward. The other way, if there's any account reviews or executive summaries of customers, I can immediately go in and see what the relationships look like, specifically how they're positioned in the organization, what the strategy elements are and how they're connected to the stakeholders, and then look at the path forward. So it really gives me an all-up view that in 5 minutes or less, I can understand what we're doing in an account, all of the opportunities that exist there, and where I may need to help, which is critically important for the majority of VPs and managers these days who are strapped for time and have many team members with many opportunities.
Yeah, that reminds me of something one of our customers said on our roundtable last week. Was he likened it to a game of Monopoly. We can all pick up in the middle of a Monopoly game because we know the rules. So Joe could get up from the game and I could come sit down and fill in, and I would immediately know what to do. The Refugee platform does the same thing from an account planning perspective, from a leadership level all the way down to the account managers. If they change accounts, if you have somebody new coming in, it really helps with onboarding time. As long as everybody has that common playing field, they can sit down at the table and pick up and understand exactly what is going on within that account.
Yep, exactly. It brings everyone on the same page, which a lot of the time they don't. And then the other way, just looking at this from a full revenue team perspective, marketing being able to go in and understand where there's revenue growth ideas and how they should be layering out campaigns, driving mind share, creating content, helping to look at where there's stick points in the funnel. We can also report on that and giving insight into where we need to create in the funnel content from a marketing perspective, and then working toward the back end of a close one opportunity, handoff to customer success or to implementation. Those scorecards and handoff forms can be built into Refugee, and you provide that direct view into what has happened, what is happening, and why people are buying to customer success. So that whole misalignment of expectations and passing the buck, so to speak, where customer success ends up dealing with a lot of nonsense, that ends with Refugee because there's collaboration right from the very beginning. And even if customer success isn't involved at the beginning of an opportunity or midway through, they have the ability to see where the relationships are being developed, what the business case is, and how they're going to jump right in and assist to drive success for that customer.
Process related question here. Can the platform be changed to accommodate changes in sales processes?
Yes, absolutely. That is one of the differentiators with Refugee. It is very easy. I say very easy. It is easy. I'm not going to say very on this one. It is easy to adjust your playbook and the plans themselves to reflect changes in process. I actually like to utilize the platform to understand what activities are commonly being checked. I tell my salespeople, be honest with me. Do not check activities that you aren't actually completing. And the reason I say that, it's not to say, oh, you haven't done something. I truly believe in success or growth mentality, and that's how I drive my leadership. And if we're not seeing success utilizing a process, I want to know where those inefficiencies are and where those either missing activities or overused activities are, anything like that. So to peel back that onion, you have your playbooks, you have your reports, you have your visibility in Refugee to understand where you need to evolve or change that process, not just giving the ability to push that across the entire organization. And that's something that can both be done on your own. We do train the administrators on how to manipulate those pieces, or with our customer success team, you can give us a call, and it's honestly, depending on the changes, it could be seconds or minutes to adjust it. So we're happy to do that with you.
Yeah, this just tweaks. It's very easy, much like editing anything and like a spreadsheet even.
Yeah, and really even a total reconfiguration of your process is fairly simple, but we do like to create SOWs for that to make sure that we're agreeing on what success looks like and what done looks like, so both parties are happy at the end of the day.
Any other questions here? Looks like we're winding down.
It's been one of those weeks. I'm not surprised. There was a lot of questions, but it's definitely been a tiring week.
Yeah, something on the water. All right. Well, we will go ahead and wrap it up. We'll give you all a couple minutes back in your day. Again, feel free to reach out directly with any questions. You have the link to the tier 1 demo. The pricing page is also linked from there. So anytime you need any clarity or additional questions, Joe or myself are happy to help out. So thank you all
guys
for attending.
So much. Yeah. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.